3 months before the wedding, my fiancé sent his identical twin brother to deal with me so he could appease his mistress. From then on, it was his brother who showed up for every single one of our dates. I never let on, just kept planning the wedding with him. Finally, a week before the big day, Josh pinned me against the door, shaking with rage. "Emily, why does the wedding invitation say my brother's name?" "There's still time," he pleaded. "Change it back." I broke into a wide smile. "What's to change? It's not a mistake. The man I've been sharing a bed with for the last 3 months? That would be your brother." After wrapping up a dinner meeting with a client, I sent a message to my fiancé. "The Ashton. I drank too much, come pick me up." He replied almost instantly. "Of course, babe. I'm on my way." I shut off my phone and leaned back in the chair. Tapping my fingers on the screen, I let a small smile play on my lips. 10 minutes later, a wagon pulled up to the hotel entrance. I hiked up my dress and climbed into the passenger seat. The man handed me a glass of warm honey water. "Drink this," he said. "It'll help with the hangover. You don't want a headache." I propped my head on one hand and gave him a brilliant smile. With my other hand, I covered his, my fingers lightly tracing their way down to his as I took the glass. My voice was soft. "Thank you, honey. You're so good to me." His gaze was deep and dark. He looked at me for a couple of seconds without saying a word, then silently started the car. I leaned back against the seat, completely content, admiring his strong nose and thick eyelashes. Every time the headlights of an oncoming car swept across his face, it highlighted his chiseled features. He was gorgeous, exactly my type. I knew this man wasn't my fiancé. He was my fiancé's identical twin brother. My fiancé's name is Josh. We were the perfect couple. He was handsome, I was beautiful, and our families were a perfect match. I'm a sucker for a handsome face, and Josh's was exactly my type, so we dated, got engaged, and took our wedding photos without a hitch. The wedding was set for 3 months from now. I gave Josh my complete trust. I never asked about his schedule or checked his phone. But even so, he couldn't shake his scumbag nature. He was seeing some girl fresh out of college. The girl had a fiery personality and a temper, threatening to break up with him over every little thing. But Josh was into that. He'd humble himself to pamper and plead with her. To keep me from finding out, he even came up with a brilliant plan. He'd have his identical twin brother, Edward, deal with me. When I found out, I wasn't really angry. I just thought it was laughably stupid of him. He must have had his brain removed when he started cheating. I don't know if other people could tell them apart, but to me, the difference was obvious. Josh is flashy and impulsive. Edward is steady and reserved. I found the whole situation amusing, so I played along. For the past month, every time I asked Josh to meet, Edward was the one who showed up. They had the same handsome face that I found so pleasing, but Edward's eyes held something more complex when he looked at me, a raw, surging emotion. It was absolutely fascinating. Edward was wonderful to me, catering to my every whim. Even when I had a wild hair to go see the ocean in the middle of the night, he wouldn't say a word of protest. The only thing was, whenever I'd pretend and call him Josh, his eyes would drop, and he'd fall silent. I was certain that this man had been quietly in love with me for who knows how long. Maybe because I was engaged to his brother, he'd never crossed the line. But now... Well, I thought, maybe the groom's name at my wedding could be changed. When something gets dirty, you just throw it out. And when there's a better option available, who wouldn't take it? Back at my place, I kicked off my heels and stumbled around unsteadily. Edward kept a careful distance, his hand outstretched, ready to catch me. I swayed, let out a little yelp, and fell right into his arms with perfect precision. His arm instantly wrapped around my waist. I stifled a laugh. I pressed 2 fingers against his stomach and mimicked a little person walking, step by step, up to his chest. He had a great body. I couldn't resist poking him twice. My fingers were immediately caught in his grip. A low, restrained voice came from above me. Emily, stop messing around. This is messing around? I'm planning on sleeping with you. I wrapped my arms around his neck, pressing my entire body against his, so close that not even a breeze could pass between us. My gaze traveled from his deep eyes, inch by inch, down to his lips. They were thin and red. Kissing that mouth would surely be softer, better. Edward turned his head away. Emily, you've had too much to drink. No, I haven't. I'm perfectly clear-headed. I didn't give him a chance to say another word. I stood on my toes and kissed him directly. Edward's pupils dilated, and the arm around my waist tightened instantly. See? Why pretend? He was dying to kiss me. The kiss grew more intense. I tugged on his tie, stumbling as I pulled him into the bedroom. With a push, I sent him falling onto the bed. I straddled him, pressing myself against him, kissing and biting him with abandon. From his mouth to his neck. His arousal was impossible to hide. Just as I was about to undo his third button, he grabbed my wrist. Edward pulled back half an inch, his brow furrowed, breathing heavily. Emily, we can't. I'm not. Edward. I called him by his real name. Edward froze. Even his breathing stopped, as if he'd been turned to stone. Heh, so cute. Much cuter than his brother. I lay on his chest, my toes hooking his calf, my thumb tracing his lips back and forth. Edward, if I switched the groom at my wedding to you, would you be willing? He paused for a long time before his voice came out, hoarse. You knew I wasn't Josh? I laughed, leaning down to peck the corner of his mouth. Yeah, from the very first moment. I'm asking you a question. Are you willing or not? I'm serious. If he said no, I'd just tie him up and take him by force. I'm Emily, and I've never failed to get a man I've set my sights on. I waited patiently for a minute. Edward asked again, you won't regret this? I blinked innocently. No regrets. You, on the other hand, should think carefully. If you refuse, will you regret it? Edward's lips were pressed into a thin line. My eyes were still waiting for his answer, but my fingers had already started moving. As I undid his fifth button, he suddenly flipped me over with a powerful move, trapping me completely in his shadow. He kissed me even more fiercely, his body hot enough to burn. Tomorrow, he said, we're going to retake the wedding photos. Tomorrow wasn't happening. Because Edward kept me up half the night, not letting up until my voice was too hoarse to speak. Honestly, this guy. He'd been so proper before, always keeping a polite distance when we walked together. But once he got a taste, he turned into a total animal, like he wanted to devour me whole. But I happened to love this wild side that contradicted his calm exterior. The way the sweat slid down his jawline was incredibly sexy. So I enjoyed it more than ever. We rescheduled the photo shoot for this weekend. While Edward was taking his solo pictures, I was playing with his phone and happened to scroll through Josh's Instagram feed. He'd posted a 9-photo grid, all pictures of him and the young girl. Bungee jumping, paragliding, river rafting. The caption was slick, "This is how life should be lived, one crazy adventure with the one you love. Having an affair right before your wedding. Yeah, that's pretty crazy." I crossed my legs and gave his post a like. A message from Josh popped up immediately. Bro, how'd it go? Didn't mess up last night, did you? Emily didn't find out, right? Wow, cuddling with his new girl and he still had time to think of me. I tapped out a nonchalant reply. Nope. Thanks, bro. Knew I could count on you. I'm gonna hang out here for another 2 months, so if Emily wants to see me, you'll have to cover for me. No problem. A grin spread across my face. Cover for 2 months? Honey, I'm covering your entire wedding for you. A shadow fell over me. What are you looking at? You seem happy. I looked up and met Edward's eyes. Nothing, just messing with a stray dog. I handed the phone back to Edward. He glanced at it, then gave me a meaningful look. I put my index finger to my lips in a shushing gesture. Playing along with Josh's little drama was so much more fun. Edward understood immediately. He raised an eyebrow and leaned down. So how are you going to reward me? I smiled brightly, tilted my head back, and rewarded him with a 1-minute kiss. Edward took the wedding planning very seriously. He was personally involved in every detail, with standards so exacting they bordered on obsessive. He wouldn't let a single potential flaw slip by. With him in charge, I barely had to worry about a thing. Ever since we made things official, Edward and I had been living together. No point in delaying the good things in life. I had almost completely cut off contact with Josh. But every day on Edward's social media, I'd see his 9 photo grids and declarations of love. Passionate, dramatic, and earth-shattering. Of course, I was blocked from seeing all of it. That evening, after I showered, dried my hair, and slipped into a silk camisole, the phone rang right on cue. It was Josh. Not calling me, of course, but his brother. Edward put him on speaker. Bro, everything going smoothly? Yeah. What's Emily been up to lately? Edward looked up at me, a playful tone in his voice. You miss her? Why don't you just call her yourself? Man, I was worried you'd be with her and I'd blow my cover. I'm not coming back just yet. I promised Tiffany I'd take her to Paris to see an art exhibit. Tiffany. That was the name of the girl he was keeping on the side. Paris. How romantic. Barefoot, I swung a leg over and sat down on Edward's lap. His eyes darkened a few shades. Emily's been pretty busy lately, busy with the wedding. I raised an eyebrow. What was he talking about? He was the one handling everything for the wedding. I was just busy seducing him. No wonder. With Emily overseeing the wedding plans, I can relax. After we're married, I'll make it up to her. Until then, bro, you've got to help me out. Don't let her find out. Yeah, I will. Edward's voice suddenly broke. Because while he was talking, I had bitten down on his Adam's apple. Bro? What are you doing? Who are you with? Edward gave me a helpless look. I was sprawled on his chest, laughing my head off. Nothing, Edward said into the phone. Your sister-in-law just bit me. A gasp came from the other end. Whoa, what kind of woman finally got your attention? I thought you were a lost cause. You finally decided to get back in the game. I have to meet her when I get back. Edward grabbed my wandering hand. We'll talk when you're back. Josh wanted to ask more, but Edward brushed him off with a few excuses and hung up. He pinned my waist. Emily, you're being naughty again. I smiled, pressing my lips against his. But you like it when I'm naughty, don't you? Just look at him, all worked up already. I blew a puff of air at him playfully, my hand on his stomach. There was a fire in Edward's eyes. He couldn't take it anymore. With a sudden surge of strength, he pulled me fiercely into his arms. Everything was proceeding in an orderly fashion. I had just finished a meeting with my subordinates when a new friend request popped up on my phone. I recognized the profile picture from Josh's Instagram. Well. Looks like the little girlfriend finally couldn't hold back and decided to make her move. I accepted the request with great interest. A message came through instantly. Hi there, sis. I have some pictures I'd like to show you. It was followed by a flood of photos. Every single one was an intimate shot of her and Josh. Hugging, kissing. All taken during their trip. I'm sure you know what I mean, sis. It's more graceful to bow out when you're the one who isn't loved. The girl was still young, this was the only trick she had up her sleeve. I didn't mind playing along. I settled into my office chair and took a sip of the coffee my assistant had just brought me. Are these photoshopped? Josh and I are together every day. When would he have time for you? Trying to stir up trouble? Nice try, sweetie. I don't believe you. The typing indicator on her end blinked for a long time. Are you so sure the man by your side is Josh? It's pretty pathetic when you can't even recognize your own husband. I crossed my legs, unhurried. Is that so? Well, let me check. I picked up the phone and dialed Josh's number. It rang for a long time before he finally answered. Hello? What's up, babe? Josh, where are you right now? There was a brief pause on the line. I'm at the office. I stated calmly, a woman just sent me a ton of travel photos, and you're in every single one, looking very cozy. Care to explain? Silence on the other end. He must be sweating bullets. I tapped my fingers on the desk and changed my tone. But I think the photos are probably fakes. We see each other every day. How could you possibly have time to be jet-setting with another woman in Paris? Josh laughed dryly, his voice unnatural. Yeah, that's right, babe. Don't believe her. It must be a scammer. I can't be in two places at once. How could I be overseas? Oh, boy. I wonder how Tiffany felt hearing that. She was probably fuming right next to him. I rocked back in my chair lazily. That's what I thought. Well, I'll let you go then. I'm hanging up. Hey, wait. Something else? Babe, did you cancel the wedding planner we booked before? I had canceled all the wedding arrangements Josh and I had made, and the notifications must have gone to his phone. I did. I didn't like the old plan, so I got a new one. Why are you so surprised? Weren't you standing right next to me when I canceled it? He immediately started stammering, look at my memory. I've been so swamped at work, my head spinning. I teased, you forgot even that? Don't tell me you've forgotten when the wedding is too. Of course not. Josh answered quickly, then, fearing he'd given himself away, tried to end the call. Babe, something urgent came up at the office. I gotta go. Okay. Be home early tonight. I'll make you your favorite fish soup. Feeling pleased with myself, I hung up first and started humming a little tune. Messing with him was really quite enjoyable. Of course, the one who came home early that evening was Edward. I had just placed the fish soup on the dining table when he wrapped his arms around me from behind. He held me tight. What's wrong? Are you trying to strangle me? Edward loosened his grip slightly, resting his head on my shoulder. You called Josh today. I did. And? I'm jealous. I'm not happy. Oh, God. Edward was pouting. Who could resist that? I was completely charmed. I turned around in his arms and wrapped my own around his waist. His little girlfriend messaged me today, so I called Josh to mess with him. His reaction was priceless, I'll be laughing about it for days. What, you're jealous of that too? Are you made of jealousy? Edward's eyes sparkled like diamonds under the light. I stood on my toes and gave him a peck. Is this compensation enough? Hubby? Edward's hands instantly tightened on me. Then I was pressed against the edge of the table and kissed for 2 full minutes. As my breathing grew unsteady, Edward whispered in my ear, Josh is coming back next week. So soon. The wedding was still a month away. Tiffany wasn't very effective. I narrowed my eyes and scratched Edward under the chin. So what's your plan for when he gets back? Edward nibbled on my ear, murmuring softly. Make him attend his older brother's wedding, just as he should. Josh didn't make it back. According to what he told Edward, Tiffany had come down with some sudden illness that was serious and required local treatment. Tiffany was also emotionally unstable, extremely insecure, and needed him by her side. He couldn't bear to leave her, so he had to ask Edward to cover for him for another month. As expected, a woman who could tie Josh down for this long had more tricks up her sleeve than just provoking the main girlfriend. Even though I wasn't the main girlfriend anymore. Edward held me close. Emily, when are you going to tell Josh? I toyed with his fingers. Why tell him? Isn't it more fun to let him find out on his own? I was genuinely curious to see the look on Josh's face when he came back and discovered everything. It would surely be entertaining. Edward also gave a faint smile, curling his index finger to gently tap my nose. Naughty. I can be even naughtier. Do you like that? My eyes were fixed on him. I took his fingertip and brought it to my lips, biting it provocatively. After we were done, as Edward held me, ready for sleep, a message notification chimed on his phone. He opened it. It was a voice recording from Tiffany. Here she was again, staking her claim. I pressed play. The audio began with 2 sets of heavy, panting breaths. Josh was spewing filth, constantly asking Tiffany if it felt good, telling her to call him daddy if it did. Tiffany was very cooperative, her coy and delicate voice dripping with sweetness. I let out a sound of disgust and whined to Edward. Honey, my ears are hurt. Edward cupped his hands over my ears. Don't listen. It's filth. I giggled. No way. There might be more exciting parts. I skipped to the second half of the audio, where there was finally some dialogue. Josh, baby, how do I compare to Emily? Babe, why are you comparing yourself to her? I just want to know, tell me. Fine, I'll talk. Stop twisting my arm, you little monster. If you break it, how am I supposed to please you? You're younger, prettier, and you know how to be cute. The moment I see you, I can't think straight. I just want to throw you on the bed all day. Is that good enough? Then do you love me? Of course I love you. I'm crazy about you. You're the only one for me in this life. Then can you marry me, and not Emily? Josh fell silent. I was also curious how he would answer. After all, he was the one who had shamelessly pursued me, promising to cherish and spoil me forever. Tiffany pressed him several times before Josh finally spoke with a smug laugh. Babe, my marriage to Emily is a family arrangement, it's what our parents want. I can't go against it. But even if I marry her, you'll still be the one I love most. I'll buy you a house, you can live there, and I'll come see you whenever I can, just like now. As soon as I get a chance, I promise I'll divorce Emily and marry my sweet little baby. The audio ended there. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Whether Josh didn't want to defy the engagement or didn't dare to, it was hard to say. He had been happier than anyone when we got engaged. I turned over, rubbing my nose against Edward's, and complained, "Did you hear that?" If he had kept up the act until after the wedding, would have actually married that jerk. Could you have just stood by and watched that happen? I poked his chest. Edward, oh, Edward, you really had some self-control back then. If you like me so much, how could you just watch me marry your little brother? Edward's gaze burned into me for a good 10 seconds before he scooped me up and pulled me into his arms. I used to think you liked him. I rolled my eyes and grumbled under my breath. I liked his face. You have the same face, so I like you too. He rubbed my lower back. You only like my face? His hand started to wander again. Not wanting to scream my throat raw for a second night, I quickly kissed him several more times and firmly placed his hands back on my waist. As for you, I said, of course, I like everything. The days passed quickly. The closer it got to the wedding date, the more frequently Tiffany shared her and Josh's love story with me. Photos, audio clips, videos, she stopped just short of live streaming their hookups. Lately, the messages had become relentless. Emily, Josh already told me I'm the love of his life. What's the point of a loveless marriage? You don't want to spend your life with a man whose heart isn't with you, right? Hee hee. I watched her like she was a monkey in a cage. When I was in a good mood, I'd watch her little performance. Then I'd say nothing and just reply, LOL. What's that supposed to mean? What does it mean? Go ahead and guess. A week before the wedding, Josh posted on his social media. Even the best of times must come to an end. Time to go back and embrace a new life, but some love and memories are carved in the heart and will never fade with time. I actually agreed with that sentence. Perhaps the scene of me marrying his brother would also become one of his unforgettable memories. Tonight, there was a partner's banquet. I was dressed to the nines in a gown and high heels. These kinds of events were second nature to me, I handled them with ease. As it ended, I saw a man leaning against a Rolls-Royce right by the main entrance of the venue. I stopped and looked him over. I hadn't seen him in 3 months. He was a bit tanner, and a bit heavier. He'd gotten uglier. Truly no match for his brother in any way. Perhaps because he hadn't seen me in so long, and I was all dressed up, Josh's eyes were filled with undisguised admiration. He slickly opened his suit jacket and strode toward me with a confident gait, intending to hug me. Emily. I sidestepped, smoothly avoiding him. I squinted at him. Josh stopped in his tracks, looking puzzled. What's wrong? Why, are you looking at me like that? A faint smile played on my lips. Nothing. It's just that I suddenly feel like you've changed, a lot. Josh's body stiffened instantly. It's as if, in just one day, you took a trip to Africa and ate an elephant. Look, I said, pointing. Your belt is tight, isn't it? Your stomach is sticking out quite obviously. Josh glanced down at himself awkwardly, his laugh forced. Is that so? Maybe I've just put on some weight recently. You just haven't noticed. I smiled sweetly and didn't reply. Josh changed the subject. All right, let's not talk about that. Emily, you look beautiful tonight. I'm here to take you home. He reached for my hand, but I immediately took a step back. No need. Why? Someone else is coming to pick me up. Josh frowned and was about to ask another question when his phone rang. I gestured toward his suit pocket. Aren't you going to get that? It sounds urgent. Josh hesitated for a moment before answering the call. I crossed my arms, watching his expression shift from feigned nonchalance to genuine anxiety. What about now? Does your leg still hurt? How could you be so careless? Don't cry, I'm coming right over. 10 minutes, max. He hung up and turned to me with an apologetic look. Emily, I'm so sorry. A friend of mine accidentally fell and hurt her leg. She needs my help. I nodded understandingly. It's fine, you go ahead. It had nothing to do with me anyway. Josh relaxed his shoulders and smiled gratefully. Emily, I'm so lucky to be marrying you. You head home first. I'll come find you as soon as I'm done. He hurried off. I raised my hand and gave a little wave. Bye-bye. Next time we meet, I hope you're still smiling. 15 minutes later, sitting in the passenger seat of Edward's car, I was scrolling through Tiffany's social media. There was a picture of Josh holding her hand tightly, pulling her into his arms while a doctor examined her. What are you smiling at? I looked up at the man driving, feeling wonderful. Nothing, just watching the monkeys. Edward, have we sent out most of the invitations? The light turned red. Edward stopped the car, took my hand, and gently kneaded my palm. They've all been sent. Except to Josh. The light turned green, and the car started moving again. I opened the passenger side mirror and looked at my makeup with satisfaction. Then let's send it to him tonight. After all, we need to make sure he doesn't show up in a tux. As expected, my phone was blown up. For 10 solid minutes, my phone rang non-stop. But I was busy kissing Edward and had no time to deal with the ringing phone, so I just let it go crazy. An hour later, Edward had helped me shower and carried me out of the bathroom. Emily, get some rest. I have something to deal with at the office. I'm going to the study for a meeting. I hooked my arm around his neck and gave him a kiss. Go on. After Edward left the room, I rubbed my sore lower back and went to the living room to retrieve my long-neglected phone. 99 missed calls. 99 messages from Josh. I clicked into the messages and saw they were all minute-long voice notes, plus a bunch of pictures he'd sent. The names on the invitation, the wedding photos, the venue being set up. It was as if after receiving the wedding invitation, he had finally gone and verified every single detail of who I was marrying. And upon learning the truth, he had completely lost it. I listened to a few of the shorter voice notes. Emily, this isn't real, right? This is just a joke you're playing on me, isn't it? This isn't funny. I'm coming to find you now. Why aren't you home? Did you move? Emily, answer me. Duh, of course you can't find me at my place. Because I'm at your brother's place now. The other voice notes were too long. I couldn't be bothered to listen. I ignored all his messages and simply replied, "See you in a week. Welcome to my wedding." He didn't reply after that. Just as I was getting ready for bed, there was a loud banging on the door. Well. He found me. I got up lazily, draped a silk robe over my shoulders, and after a series of knocks that sounded more like someone was trying to break down the wall, I calmly opened the door. I couldn't tell if it was from exhaustion or rage, but Josh's chest was heaving, his lips were pressed into a thin line, and his eyes were an unnatural, bloodshot red. He looked like his wife had just died. I teased, "All done? Finished taking your friend to the hospital?" Josh took a step forward, grabbed my shoulders, and pinned me against the door. His voice was incredibly hoarse. "Emily, why is the groom's name on the wedding invitation my brother's? There's still time. Change it back." I broke into a smile. "It's correct." "Why would I change it? The man I've been sharing a bed with for the last 3 months? That's your brother." The color drained from Josh's face. He seemed to forget how to breathe. I brushed his hands off my shoulders, pulled the robe up from my elbows, and shot him a glance. "Why so surprised? You've known all along that the one by my side was your brother, haven't you?" Josh's eyes trembled, his knuckles cracking as he clenched his fists. You knew?" "I did." I tossed my curly hair over my shoulder. "It would be hard not to know. After all, compared to your brother, you're just..." I leaned in close, my breath ghosting over his skin as I finished my sentence. "So much worse." Josh's gaze flickered and then settled on a spot on the side of my neck. He suddenly became agitated and grabbed my wrist. "You and my brother, you've slept together?" "That's a stupid question." I rolled my eyes. "We have." "What did you think we were doing before you got here?" Josh's breathing grew more rapid, his grip on my wrist tightening. He ground his teeth, his face twisting into something almost monstrous. "Emily, I was with you for 2 damn years, and you never even let me touch you. My brother pretends to be me for 3 months, and you give yourself to him? Why?" "Why?" I repeated his question and laughed. "Because I felt like it." My nonchalant attitude completely enraged Josh. His eyes were red as he tried to grab me. But the next moment, his hand was knocked away, and he stumbled back several steps. Edward stood in front of me, his face dark as he looked at his younger brother. His voice was as cold as ice. "What do you think you're doing?" Josh grabbed the doorframe to steady himself, his anger finally exploding as he roared hoarsely. "Edward, Emily is my girlfriend. Are you shameless? Stealing your own brother's woman." Edward completely ignored his brother's tirade. He turned to me, checked me over from head to toe, and asked softly, "Are you okay?" I shook my head and, right in front of Josh, burrowed into Edward's arms, wrapping my arms around his waist. Josh's face turned an even deeper shade of green. "Let me correct you on something," I said. "I'm not your girlfriend now. I'm your ex-girlfriend. Your actual girlfriend is still in the hospital, isn't she? A week from now, after the wedding, you'll have to respectfully call me your sister-in-law. Got it? Oh, and by the way, remember to wear the right clothes on the wedding day. After all, the one I'm marrying is your brother." Josh glared at me, speechless. The atmosphere was tense for a moment. Just as he was about to say something else, Edward hooked an arm around me and mercilessly slammed the door in his face. The banging on the door continued, but no one paid it any mind. Edward scooped me up by the knees and carried me to the bedroom. He leaned over me, his nose nuzzling my ear. "So bold? You dared to open the door by yourself before I came out." It was too ticklish. I shrank back. What's there to be afraid of? Is he going to eat me? Besides, with you here, I'm not afraid of anything. I cupped Edward's chin and leaned in to kiss him. Our lips and tongues intertwined, skin against skin. As the kiss grew hazy and passionate, the banging from outside finally stopped. When I woke up the next day, it was already close to noon. Edward had already left for the office. I gave myself a few days off to rest and get ready for the wedding. As I was about to go out for a walk, I opened the door and a figure appeared beside me like a ghost. I frowned. "What are you still doing here?" He was wearing the same clothes as last night, with dark circles under his eyes and a stubbly chin. It looked like he had waited here all night. He must have deliberately avoided his brother when Edward left for work this morning. Josh had lost all of last night's bravado. He looked completely dejected. "Emily, I'm sorry. Last night, I was too emotional. Can I talk to you properly?" Every word he spoke was laced with caution. I leaned against the doorframe. "Whatever you have to say it here. I'm not inviting you in." Josh pursed his lips and rubbed his face messily. I thought about a lot of things last night, but what I thought about most were the happy times we had together. "Do you remember? A year ago, I took you to the top of Lookout Point to see the sunrise. The moment the sun came up, the smile on your face, I still remember it. Emily, I know it was wrong of me to have my brother pretend to be me, but I truly love you. As for Tiffany, I'll break things off with her immediately. You can hit me, yell at me, punish me however you want, but can you please forgive me this one time? After we get married, I promise I'll be twice as good to you." I thought he would have some profound self-reflection, but it turns out he's still operating with some misplaced, bizarre confidence. I let out an exaggerated laugh. "You love me? Are you sure?" He took a step forward, his tone firm. "You are the woman I, Josh, love most in this life." Suppressing a laugh, I opened my chat history with Tiffany and played the audio recording. Every word he had said to Tiffany echoed clearly in the doorway. Josh's face was completely frozen. After the audio finished, he looked at me in disbelief. "Emily, how do you have that?" "Naturally, your precious little baby sent it to me." "Oh, she shared a lot of things with me, even your bed photos. Would you like to see them?" Josh probably never imagined that Tiffany would send me everything about their sordid affair just to force me to break off the engagement. These things, to put it nicely, were proof of their love. To put it bluntly, they were leverage I had over Josh. The look on Josh's face when all this became public would be priceless. Of course, his expression right now was also priceless. A look of pure disbelief and panic. It was immensely satisfying. He who tries to play me deserves to be played. My voice turned cold. "Josh, I'm telling you this one last time. If you dare to bother me again, everything Tiffany sent me will be delivered to your family, your friends, and every single person at your family's company. You'll all get a copy. You should know my personality. I do what I say. Now, get lost." Josh swayed on his feet and was silent for a full minute. Just as I was about to impatiently tell him to leave again, he said, "Emily, I will fix all of this." I let out a loud tisk and muttered moron under my breath. Josh turned and walked away, looking completely lost. I thought Josh had finally given up. But I had underestimated his shamelessness. When he saw he couldn't win me over, he went straight to my mom and knelt on the ground, bowing his head. First, he tearfully confessed his mistakes and swore he would never do it again. Then, he begged my mom to persuade me, to ask me to give him another chance. My dad passed away early, and my mom built our family business from scratch. My mom is also very free-spirited. She said that in matters like this, whatever my daughter wants, she gets. Her exact words were, as long as my daughter is willing, I can pick out 18 men for her to choose from. When she gets tired of one, she can just pick the next. The only reason I agreed to the engagement with your family was because Emily accepted your proposal. Now you've been messing around outside for so long, what face do you have to come back and ask to marry my daughter? Josh was speechless. Seeing that he couldn't get through to my mom, he went home to beg his own parents. The Greens members are emotionally distant even with their own children, they prioritize benefits first. Edward must have offered the family a considerable guarantee of benefits, otherwise, someone would have told Josh about the switch long ago. But me marrying Edward posed no disadvantage to the Greens. Two families would still have a strong marriage alliance. So when Josh knelt before his parents, begging them not to let Edward marry me, his parents just finished their tea, told him to get some rest, and said nothing more. Josh, refusing to give up, went directly to Edward. But he couldn't even get a meeting. After all, you need an appointment to see the chairman. His own brother was no exception. The night before the wedding, Edward swayed with me in his arms. Emily, Josh came to see me again today. He had the receptionist pass me a message. He said he will never give up on you, and that he's going to crash the wedding tomorrow. A lot of people at the company are saying he's so deeply in love with you. He's been a rich kid for too long. He really thinks he's the star of a rom-com. Crashing the wedding. I turned around and lifted Edward's chin. If he really does crash the wedding, what will you do? Edward's eyes crinkled with a smile as he pecked my lips. He won't get the chance. Get some sleep. We have to be up early tomorrow. I'm looking forward to seeing the most beautiful bride in the world. On the day of the wedding, I was in the dressing room getting my makeup done. As I expected, Josh came looking for me. But he couldn't get close. Because Edward had specially arranged for 2 female bodyguards who looked like they could fight to protect me, and several sturdy male bodyguards to follow him at all times. Josh couldn't even get near the dressing room door and had to shout my name from the hallway. So noisy. Once my makeup was almost done, I lifted my dress and walked to a spot a meter away from him. What are you barking about? Seeing me in my wedding dress, Josh's eyes trembled. Then, with a thud, he dropped to his knees in front of me. Emily, I've completely broken things off with Tiffany. I truly know I was wrong. I will sincerely repent. We were together for 2 years, we have so many beautiful memories. I don't believe that in just 3 months, you would fall for my brother. I know you must still have feelings for me. If I crash the wedding today, will you run away with me? He delivered his speech with such sincerity that everyone in the room, even the bodyguards, almost burst out laughing. I slowly scanned him up and down, not even wanting to waste my breath, and turned around to sit back in my chair. Get him out of here. The bodyguards moved to comply. Josh struggled violently, his face red and his neck veins bulging. I'd like to see who the hell dares to touch me. But before he could break free, a sharp female voice came from around the corner. Josh. Well, Tiffany has arrived. Perfect timing. Looks like we're in for a dog-eat-dog show. Tiffany's mental state was clearly not good. Her hair was a mess, and her expression was frantic. She came in and immediately started cursing him out, calling him a heartless, faithless bastard who deserved a horrible death. Josh stood up, annoyed. Are you done making a scene? I already told you very clearly, I was just playing around with you before. The one I truly love is Emily. Get lost. And don't ever appear in front of me again. Tiffany laughed, 2 clear tear streaks running down her face. Josh, oh Josh, look at you. You're like a pathetic simp right now. You think Emily is some saint? She knew about us all along, but she never said anything, just played us like dogs, laughing at you every day. And now you're on your knees begging her to take you back. Where's your pride? Did a dog eat it? Josh completely ignored Tiffany's tirade. As long as Emily forgives me, I don't need dignity or pride. But you clearly said you loved me most. Tiffany screamed, breaking down. The female bodyguard next to me couldn't help but chime in, a man's lies? You just listen, you don't actually believe them, right? Spot on. I couldn't help but applaud the bodyguard. Josh turned to me anxiously. Emily, what I said to you today is true. You are the person I love most. I'm not lying. Josh. You goddamn bastard. Tiffany completely exploded. She pulled a folded white paper from her bag, threw it at Josh, and wailed. Look at this. Josh didn't even glance at her as he picked up the paper. Whatever it is, it won't change my feelings for Emily. His words stopped abruptly. He froze, as if he'd been turned to stone. The male bodyguard blocking his way glanced at the paper, his mouth forming an O. Wow, someone's knocked up. Well now, Tiffany is pregnant. Josh was trembling all over. The test results slipped from his hand and fell to his feet. His first reaction wasn't to look at the pregnant Tiffany, but at me. Emily, You what? You're about to have a child, and you're still talking about crashing the wedding? Josh's breathing was rapid. He frowned, gritted his teeth, and said, I won't let this child get in our way. I'll make her get rid of it. The moment he said that, Tiffany lunged at him like a madwoman. Josh. Are you even human? This is our child, a living being. And you're going to make me get rid of it? You monster. Tiffany hit and swore at Josh, tearing at his clothes and pulling his hair. Her hair was disheveled, and she had transformed from a young woman into a complete shrew. Josh, fed up, gave her a hard shove. Have you had enough? He put his full force into the push. The momentum sent Tiffany stumbling backward several steps before she lost her balance and fell heavily to the ground. Her face went white, and beads of sweat instantly formed on her forehead. The baby. Josh, our baby. Soon, Tiffany's white dress was stained with gushing blood. The blood flowed faster and faster, even pooling on the floor. She clutched her stomach, wailing piteously. Josh was clearly stunned by the scene, standing frozen and motionless. I kindly offered a reminder. What are you standing there for? Aren't you going to take your little girlfriend to the hospital? You'd better think this through. If something really happens to Tiffany, it'll be 2 lives lost, and you'll be charged with attempted murder. There's a room full of witnesses here. You should weigh your options. Do you want to spend the rest of your life in prison? My words snapped Josh out of his stupor. He looked at me with a grim expression, and after some hesitation, he finally clenched his fists and ran to pick up Tiffany. Before leaving, he couldn't resist throwing out his grand declaration. Emily, wait for me. I'm now seriously starting to wonder if, when Josh and Edward were in the womb, Edward just sucked up all the nutrients. Otherwise, how could Josh be acting like such a complete moron? It was truly an eye-opening experience. Josh's little drama didn't actually cause much of a delay. All told, it was about 10 minutes. So the little interlude didn't affect my wedding ceremony at all. Edward had prepared for this wedding meticulously. Everything used was the most high-end in the city. He wanted to announce to the whole world that his wife, Emily, deserved the most perfect things in life. And I did deserve them. The grand golden doors slowly opened. Under the gaze of everyone, I walked to the music, accompanied by applause, step by step, toward the man on the stage in a crisp suit, whose eyes were filled with nothing but me. The deep affection in his eyes was the same as when we first met 3 months ago, but now it held an added weight. My principle has always been, a man is optional. But if I'm going to choose one, I'll choose the one I'm most satisfied with. I think, with this man, Edward, I probably made the right choice. Amidst thunderous applause, we exchanged our vows and kissed passionately. Edward caressed my cheek, the light in his eyes unusually bright. It was hard to tell if it was a reflection of the lights or the glint of joyful tears. His voice was slightly hoarse. Emily, you're finally my wife. I've finally waited for this day. I gave him a flirty look. Don't get too happy just yet. If you ever pull any crap on me, I can still drop you without a second thought. That will never happen, Edward said, each word steady and powerful. In a forgotten corner, 2 bodyguards held down Josh, who had just rushed in. One covered his mouth, preventing him from shouting. The other pinned him against the wall, immobilizing him. He stared wide-eyed, watching helplessly as Edward and I kissed, and the ceremony concluded. His expression shifted from anxious to ashen, and finally, heart dead, he slowly slid down the wall and sat slumped on the floor. When I glanced his way, I silently mouthed a word. Idiot.